In 1996, Romeo Ramirez came to Florida from Guatemala. He wanted a better life for his family. He chose to work in Immokalee.
Bueno, la primera vez que yo llegué aquí a Immokalee. Llegué como, es un pueblo conocido por su cara de la industria, que es una industria grande, entonces llegué yo y muchos otros compañeros para igual trabajar, para ya luego empezar a vivir normalmente como un trabajador del campo.
Romeo found work, as agriculture contributes almost $1 billion of sales revenue to the Southwest Florida economy. Immokalee produces the bulk of the tomatoes in the United States from November through January. But Romeo wasn't prepared for the harsh realities of migrant farm life. He describes cramped living conditions, with families, sometimes multiple families or even strangers, living together in tiny homes and trailers.
No solamente aceptar estas condiciones de vivir en estas condiciones, sino tenerte que acostumbrar salir a buscar trabajo diario, porque el trabajo que tienes no es un trabajo que te garantice trabajo como un empleado de la compañía que te va a garantizar por lo menos los 9 meses que es la temporada aquí. Es una aventura de todos los días, si hoy agarras o no vas a agarrar, entonces tienes que correr con la misma suerte de que todos los días vas a poder agarrar, y eso va a depender del contratista, quien te va a contratar, si te va a dar trabajo hoy o no te va a dar trabajo.
It's a system that hasn't changed much since journalist Edward R. Murrow investigated the life of the migrant worker in 1960. Workers depend on labor contractors or crew leaders to find work, busing them to farm sites. This broker isn't hired by the grower, but provides an easy way for farmers to get the seasonal labor they need for the short time they need it, at low cost. For workers, this system extends periods of labor, enabling them to work at other farms once a particular region has been exhausted. Romeo says depressed wages for farm work make it hard to accomplish what he came to Immokalee to do, send money home to family.
Entonces, cuando te enfrentas a este trabajo, el trabajo va a ser la pizca de tomate. ¿Qué pasa cuando tú trabajas en el tomate? Tener que, ahora sí, acostumbrarte a recibir un precio de la cubeta que es 40 y 45 centavos, que no alcanza para el sustento de una persona, ya sea individual o para una familia.
Romeo is one of 4,000 members of the Coalition of Immokalee Workers, a community organization made up of Latino, Mayan Indian, and Haitian immigrant farm workers. The CIW works to improve conditions for laborers and to bring an end to any workplace violations, violations that at their worst include indentured servitude or forced slavery in the fields committed by some corrupt labor contractors. Together with Interfaith Action, a student alliance, the CIW has launched the Campaign for Fair Food, demanding a wage increase of a penny per pound for tomato pickers. They are also pushing for businesses to accept a code of conduct to discourage any worker abuse.
The rate that most tomato pickers receive is just 40 to 50 cents for every 32-pound bucket of tomatoes. And back in 1978, workers also earned 40 cents per bucket. And so if you think about inflation back in 1978, 40 cents went a whole lot farther than it does today.
Brigitte says the campaign focuses attention on large producers of tomatoes, retail companies who buy them in bulk. The CIW is organizing public demonstrations in an effort to put pressure on retailers. This vigil was aimed at the public supermarket chain.
And so the idea of the Campaign for Fair Food is that the large buyers, who are really the ones who are benefiting from the farm workers' poverty, should rectify that by paying an additional penny more per pound that would go directly to improve farm workers' wages.
A spokesperson with Publix says the supermarket chain doesn't want to become involved in a labor dispute that should be settled between workers and growers, and that they don't set the market value nor determine the price of tomatoes. Economist Dr. Fritz Roca with the Southwest Florida Research and Education Center located in Immokalee also has some concerns about the impact the campaign could have on agribusiness.
My concern is that many of these agreements have been agreed to simply to avert or avoid negative PR. It's pretty ugly, it's pretty unpleasant to see a bunch of protesters outside your restaurants claiming that you abuse or facilitate or enhance worker abuse. So it becomes a very easy business decision to say, well, okay, we'll just pay the penny a pound, and we can then claim a little good PR on that front. But over time, if there's no sustaining economic reason to keep that agreement going, then these companies are going to be looking elsewhere to buy their tomatoes, and ultimately the farm workers that are being employed in South Florida are not going to see the benefit.
The CIW has announced a three-way agreement between themselves, Compass, and East Coast growers for improved conditions. Compass, one of the largest food service companies in the nation, agreed to pay the extra penny per pound.
And it's really is exciting news, and part of the reason it's so exciting is because for the past 2 years, the Florida Tomato Growers Exchange, which is a lobby group for the tomato industry, has essentially halted the passage of the penny per pound from the companies to the workers through threats of a fine if the tomato growers would pass that on.
Jordan Buckley of Interfaith Action says the campaign is seeing some change in the industry.
Right now we have McDonald's, Burger King, Subway, Whole Foods, Taco Bell, Pizza Hut, KFC, Long John Silver's. All of them have signed agreements with the Coalition of Immokalee Workers with an agreement that ensures that workers are paid a fair wage, and also that there's a code of conduct which would ensure that if any sort of severe labor abuses take place, there would be a market consequence for those growers guilty of those abuses.
Jordan believes it's essential for people to think about where our food comes from, and the farm worker enduring long hours for low wages, making sure that this produce gets to our dinner table. As for Romeo Ramirez, he's also a DJ at a radio station run out of the CIW headquarters. He hopes to be a mouthpiece for change.
Bueno, todo lo que la gente le gustaría ver es que en un futuro el trabajo, la mano de obra agrícola, que hoy en día no es una mano de obra reconocida como un trabajo normal, está visto por nuestra población un trabajo de tercera clase, cuando la realidad de esos trabajadores son lo más importante para el sustento de toda la nación. Entonces,